Chosen one, stop. Don't you dare keep scrolling. Not yet. Because what you're about to hear in the next few minutes was not meant for everyone. It was meant for you. And deep in that place where you stop performing and start being honest, your spirit already knows it. Let me ask you something nobody else has been bold enough to ask. Why has time felt heavier lately? Not busy, heavy, soul heavy. Like you've been carrying something you can't name. Something that presses down on your chest at 3 a.m. when the house goes quiet and the world forgets you exist. Why has your spirit felt restless? Not anxious, restless. Like something ancient inside you keeps whispering, not yet, it's coming. And why before it even arrives does Monday, April 13 feel different? You didn't stumble here. There is no algorithm that explains this moment. Heaven doesn't work through trending content. It works through appointed intersections, and you just walked straight into one. Think of a sealed letter that's been sitting in a drawer for 40 years, addressed to you, waiting for the exact morning you were finally ready to open it. That letter is this moment, and today is that morning. The world will treat Monday like another routine day, another alarm clock, another cup of coffee, another week beginning its slow grind. Millions of people will step onto that platform, watch the train arrive, and walk away thinking they'll catch the next one. But certain souls, chosen souls, will recognize what Monday actually is. Not a date, a threshold. Because some moments are not measured by hours, they are measured by response. And before this message ends, you are going to understand 3 things that will shake you to your foundation. Why your life has felt so delayed. Why this exact Monday carries weight that ordinary Mondays do not. And what heaven may be asking from you before the sun rises. On April 13, this moment is not trying to entertain you, it is trying to wake you up. If something in your spirit already knows this is not coincidence, if that restlessness in your chest just got louder, reading these words type right now in the comments, I'm here on purpose. Because you are. And heaven has been waiting for you to finally believe that. Let me talk to you for a moment. Not at you, not around you, to you, because I believe you've been sitting with something that nobody in your house, nobody at your church, nobody at your dinner table has ever had the courage to name out loud. You wake up in the morning and before your feet even touch the floor, it's already there. That weight, not tiredness, not age. Something deeper, something that lives below the surface of your daily routine and presses against your chest like a hand you can't see. You've smiled through it, you've prayed through it, you've made breakfast, answered phone calls, sat through Sunday services, and told everyone you were fine. But you weren't fine, were you? Can I tell you what I see when I look at your life? I see a house that has carried old beams through decades of winter, still standing, still holding. While everything around it shifted and cracked and changed, you held. I see a tree that has been ringed by storm after storm, year after year, and every ring is not a wound. Every ring is evidence. I see a lamp still burning in an empty room, not because anyone is watching, but because that is simply what you do. You keep burning. And I see a chest full of letters that no one else has ever read. Silent disappointments, sacrifices nobody thanked you for. Prayers whispered into the dark that never received a single human acknowledgement. You raised children who stopped calling as often as you'd hoped. You watched grandchildren drift in directions that broke your heart quietly, privately, in ways you never showed them. You've sat at tables surrounded by family and still felt completely alone. You've buried friends, you've buried dreams, you've buried versions of yourself that never got the chance to fully live. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if God noticed any of it. Psalm 56:8 says this, and I need you to hear it slowly. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Not some of them, all of them. Every cry you swallowed in the car so nobody would see. Every 3 a.m. conversation with a ceiling that didn't answer back. Every silent grief that never made it into a single eulogy or sympathy card. Heaven has been collecting every single drop. Not one tear was wasted. Not one night was unseen. But here is where I need to press deeper into your story. Because grief alone does not explain what you've been carrying. Loss alone does not account for the specific heaviness that follows you from room to room. There's something else going on. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." Not every season looks like harvest. Some seasons look like bare branches. Some seasons look like frozen ground. And the cruelest lie the enemy ever planted in your mind was convincing you that bare branches meant you were finished. You were not finished. You were between seasons. Now listen carefully, because this next truth is going to reframe every hard year you've ever lived. Some people were given comfort. You were given capacity. Some people were handed ease. You were entrusted with endurance. There is a category of soul that heaven does not send into ordinary assignments. These are the ones who get the longer winters, the harder losses, the prayers that seem to wait longer than everyone else's, not because God loves them less, but because what they are being prepared to carry requires a strength that cannot be borrowed, cannot be inherited, and absolutely cannot be manufactured in comfortable conditions. Isaiah 46:4 speaks directly to you. "Even to your old age I am He, and even to gray hairs I will carry you." God did not say He would carry you until you got old. He said He would carry you into your old age. He didn't say your purpose expired at 60 or 70 or 80. He said, "I am still He, still present, still purposeful, still building something through you that the world cannot yet see." The financial fear that wakes you at night, the loneliness that hides inside a full house, the feeling of being useful once and uncertain now, the silent ache of watching people you love live far from God while you intercede for them in rooms they will never know about. That is not abandonment. That is weight-bearing. And weight-bearing is not given to the weak. It is assigned to the strong. The weight you have been calling exhaustion may also be evidence that your life was never ordinary. If you have been carrying something in silence for years, something that never received applause, never received recognition, never received so much as a single thank you from a single human being, I want you to type these words in the comments right now. God saw me through it, because He did, every single step of it. And what He saw, what He has been developing, refining, and preparing through every one of those heavy seasons is about to matter in ways you cannot yet imagine. Because your pain was never the end of your story, it was always the beginning of your assignment. Let me ask you something that might sting. How many times have you quietly apologized for your own life? Not out loud, not to anyone's face, but in that private courtroom inside your chest, the one that convenes at 3 a.m. How many times have you looked at the years behind you and whispered, "I should have been further along by now"? The job that never became the calling you dreamed of at 25. The door you knocked on so many times, your knuckles bled, and it never opened. The dream you stopped mentioning at family dinners because the silence that followed hurt worse than any rejection letter. The decade that passed so quietly, so invisibly, that sometimes you wonder if it counted at all. You carried all of that, alone, in silence. And somewhere along the way, you accepted a lie so subtle, so perfectly tailored to your specific pain, that it started to feel like truth. God forgot about me. I need you to stop right there, because what I'm about to say is not encouragement. It is not a motivational speech. It is a correction, a direct, biblical, bone-deep correction of the most destructive false narrative that has been running in your spirit for years. You were not being denied, you were being developed. You were not hidden because you were unimportant. You were hidden because timing matters, and God never releases what He hasn't first prepared. Look at Moses, 40 years in Midian, 40 years tending sheep in the desert after fleeing Egypt in disgrace, by the world's standard wasted, invisible, finished. But God was doing something underground that no human eye could track. He was stripping Moses of every ounce of self-reliance, every shred of Egyptian arrogance, every shortcut the palace had trained into him. And when the burning bush finally appeared, Moses was ready in a way the younger, prouder version of him never could have been. Look at Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold like cargo, falsely accused, imprisoned and forgotten. 13 years between the dream and the throne. 13 years. But every single day in that prison was God building something in Joseph, that the palace would require: integrity under pressure, wisdom forged in suffering, forgiveness deep enough to save the very men who betrayed him. Look at David, anointed king as a teenager, then sent back to the fields, chased through caves by a jealous madman, living like a fugitive when he carried a crown. But those caves were not punishment. Those caves were his classroom. Every psalm he wrote in the dark became a weapon of worship that would outlive every kingdom on earth. Look at Anna, 84 years old, a widow most of her life, faithful in the temple decade after decade while the world moved on without her. And then one morning she held the Messiah in her arms. Every year of waiting was not years lost. They were years loaded with purpose, held in reserve for a moment so holy that only someone refined by that much silence could fully receive it. And Abraham and Sarah, waiting for a child until the very biology of their bodies said impossible, until hope itself felt embarrassing. But God was not slow. God was precise. Because the miracle needed to be so undeniable, so utterly beyond human explanation, that no one, not one soul across all of history, could ever claim credit for it. Here is the truth that will reframe everything. God does not hide what he hates. He hides what he intends to use with weight. He buries seeds not because he's finished with them, but because roots must go deep before branches are ever seen. An arrow pulled backward is not being rejected by the bow. It is being positioned for maximum velocity. Oil does not form in open air. It forms under hidden pressure, in the dark, over time. A bridge under construction looks like nothing until the day it carries everything across. That is your story. Those years you called wasted, they were weight-bearing years. Those seasons you called invisible, they were root-growing seasons. Those doors that never opened, they were protecting you from destinations that would have destroyed the very thing God was building inside you. The years you thought disqualified you may be the very years that qualified you. So let me ask you the question that changes everything. The question that turns this from a message into a mirror. If delay was not punishment, if every closed door, every silent heaven, every invisible season was actually God forming something in you that shallow seasons never could, then what exactly has all this preparation been for? That is not a rhetorical question. That is the question April 13 is asking you to finally answer. If you believe even just barely, even through the doubt that your hidden years were not wasted, type in the comments right now, I was being prepared. Because here is what I need you to stay with me for. The next part of this message is where April 13 stops being a dramatic title and starts becoming a real spiritual mirror held up directly to your life. And what it reflects is going to change how you see everything that came before this moment. Let me be honest with you right now. April 13 is not magic. Monday is not holy because of a number. It carries no mystical power hidden in a calendar. I am not here to sell you superstition dressed up in scripture. You've lived too long and walked too hard for me to insult your intelligence like that. But here is what I am telling you. Some days are ordinary, and some days become sacred not because of what the calendar says, but because of what you finally say yes to. Read that again slowly. Let it land. A date becomes weighty when heaven uses it to confront your delay. And beloved, if you have been sitting in the same hesitation for 3 years, 5 years, maybe 20, then Monday is not just another morning. Monday is a line in the sand, and God is standing on the other side of it, waiting to see which direction you move. Hebrews 3:15 says it with an urgency that should stop your breath cold. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Not tomorrow, not when the circumstances feel safer, not when the fear quiets down. Today. Heaven has never been interested in convenient timing. It has always been interested in obedience. Now let me ask you something that might sting. How many Mondays have already passed you by? How many mornings did you wake up feeling that stirring, that pull toward something more, something deeper, something you were built for? And then the coffee got cold, the news came on, the grandchildren needed a ride, and by noon the moment was gone. How many times has God knocked on the door of your spirit, and you told yourself you'd answer it later, later? That word has stolen more destinies than failure ever could, because here is the brutal truth about silence in the face of a divine confrontation. In a courtroom, silence is not neutral. Silence is itself a decision. When the judge speaks and you say nothing, you have still spoken. You have answered with your absence. And every day you drift through without responding to what God placed in your chest. Every passive, comfortable, spiritually sleepy day, that is your answer. That is what April 13 is asking you to confront. Think of a farmer standing at the edge of his field. The soil is broken. The seeds are in his hand. The season is exactly right. And he just stands there, waiting for a better morning, waiting until he feels more ready, waiting until the conditions feel perfect. But the harvest does not negotiate with hesitation. The field does not wait forever. There is a window, and when it closes completely. You are that farmer, and Monday is that field. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." Stop watching the wind, dear one. Stop studying the clouds of your circumstances, your limitations, your age, your past, your fear. The field is open, the season is now. And heaven is not asking for perfection, it is asking for movement. This is what April 13 represents. Not a date to worship, a threshold to recognize. A doorway that has been standing in the wall of your familiar life, and you have walked past it so many times, you stopped seeing it. But today something made you look again. Today something pulled your eyes to what you've been trained to ignore. That is not accident. That is appointment. Chosen one, let me be precise about what you are being called to cross out of and what you are being called into. You are being called out of passive faith, the kind that believes in God but never actually moves when He speaks, the kind that prays for open doors but stands 6 feet back from the threshold, the kind that says, "I trust Him" with the mouth while the feet stay perfectly, safely, tragically still. And you are being called into active agreement, into the faith that picks up its feet, into the obedience that looks afraid but moves anyway, into the assignment that has been written over your life since before your first breath touched this earth, the one that has been waiting patiently, faithfully, at times almost desperately, for you to stop surviving and start responding. This is the crossing. This is the shoreline. This is the Jordan River standing before you with Monday on the other side. Joshua 3:13 says, "The moment the priest's feet touched the water, not after it parted, not once it was safe, the moment their feet touched it, the river stopped flowing." The miracle did not come before the step. The miracle came because of the step. Before Monday arrives, write this somewhere. You will see it. Put it on your mirror, your nightstand, your kitchen table. I will not sleep through my own moment. Because April 13 is not powerful because of the number. It becomes powerful eternally, irrevocably powerful, if you answer honestly when God confronts your life. And what He is about to confront in you goes far deeper than you are ready for. Now I need to tell you something that is going to hit differently than anything you've heard in a long time. The enemy was never primarily after your money. He was never primarily after your health. He was never primarily after your relationships. He was after your voice. And the most terrifying part? He got it, not by force, by persuasion. Think about that for a moment. Hell didn't need to destroy you. It only needed to convince you to go quiet. And somewhere along the decades between the disappointments, the betrayals, the prayers that seemed to bounce off the ceiling, You stopped speaking. You stopped declaring. You stopped believing that what came out of your mouth still carried any weight in this world. You learned to shrink. You buried your conviction under politeness. You swallowed your fire to keep the peace. You told yourself you were being humble when you were actually being silenced. And the enemy watched every single moment of it and called it a victory. The battle was not just against your comfort, it was against your agreement. Because the moment you agreed with the lie, the moment you nodded along, when the world whispered, "You're too old, too late, too tired, too irrelevant," the chains didn't need to be locked. You locked them yourself. Does that sting? Good. It's supposed to. Now, open your Bible and look at Moses, the man God chose to stand before the most powerful ruler on earth and demand freedom for 2 million people. And what did Moses say when God called him? "I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." Moses, the deliverer of nations, tried to disqualify himself with his own voice before he ever used it. Look at Jeremiah. God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations." And Jeremiah's response? "I do not know how to speak. I am only a child." Look at Elijah, the prophet who called down fire from heaven, who outran chariots, who shook kingdoms. After his greatest victory, he collapsed under a broom tree in the wilderness and whispered, "It is enough, Lord. Take my life." The greatest voices in Scripture all had one thing in common. They all experienced the moment when the weight of the assignment made them want to go permanently, completely, utterly silent. And now look at the woman with the issue of blood. 12 years of suffering. 12 years of being told she was untouchable, unworthy, invisible. She didn't even speak when she reached Jesus. She moved in silence, pressed through the crowd, reached out her trembling hand. But heaven noticed. Jesus stopped. He turned around in a crowd of hundreds and said, "Who touched me?" Your silence doesn't make you invisible to God. It makes him search for you. But beloved, and I need you to really hear this, many of you have spent decades serving everyone around you. You raised children. You held families together. You showed up for everyone else's breakthrough while yours kept getting postponed. You poured out until the well ran dry. And somewhere in that beautiful, exhausting, selfless act of living for others, you slowly disappeared inside yourself. You stopped having opinions. You stopped making declarations. You stopped taking up space with your convictions because it just felt easier to let other people fill the room. And now you sit in the quiet and wonder why you feel so hollow. That hollowness is not age. That is not the inevitable result of getting older. That is the sound of a trumpet covered in dust. That is a well that has been capped over for years, still full of living water, but sealed shut by years of being told your voice no longer matters. That is an old lion who forgot the sound of his own roar. But here is what the enemy never told you. He never feared your age. He never lost sleep over your gray hair or your slower steps or your tired bones. He feared your authority. Because authority is not built in a day. Authority is built over decades. Authority is what happens when a human being walks through fire, buries loved ones, survives betrayals, wrestles with God in the dark, and comes out on the other side still standing and still believing. That is not weakness. That is the most dangerous thing on this earth. And the voice attached to that kind of authority, that voice does not just encourage people. It moves things. It breaks chains that therapy cannot touch. It releases freedom that medicine cannot prescribe. It calls prodigals home across distances that no phone can reach. Your voice was never small. It was targeted. Now the question burning in the atmosphere around your life is this: if your voice was buried under years of silence and shrinking and slow disappearance, how does it come back? And why does that answer matter desperately before Monday arrives? If you still believe somewhere underneath all the dust and the quiet and the years that God can still use your voice, type right now, "I still have something to say." Because what heaven is about to ask of you before April 13 will require every ounce of it. I need you to stop for a moment. Not just pause the video. Stop inside yourself, because there is a room inside you that you have not entered in years. You know the one. You walked past it so many times you forgot the door was there. It used to glow. It used to hum with something alive. But somewhere between the disappointments and the decades, you quietly stopped going in. And today, on the edge of April 13, heaven is standing at that door asking you to open it. Let me ask you something that might sting. When was the last time you thought about the dream you buried? Not the wish, the dream. The one that used to wake you up at dawn with fire in your chest before the world taught you to be practical. Before someone you trusted looked at you and said without even meaning to destroy you, that's not realistic. When was the last time you spoke out loud about what you were called to do? Not what you settled for, what you were called to. When was the last time you picked up that gift, the one God wired into your bones before you were born, and actually used it without apologizing for it? You stopped. And I know why. Not because you were lazy, not because you were faithless, but because you got tired of hoping for something that kept not arriving. And after enough unanswered seasons, it felt safer to close the door than to keep standing in front of it asking why it wouldn't open. So you closed it, you locked it, you put the key in a drawer and told yourself that season passed. But here is the truth that will crack something open in your chest right now. The room is still there, and there is still oil left. In 2 Kings chapter 4, a widow came to the prophet Elisha in crisis. Her husband was gone. The debt collectors were coming. She had nothing left, or so she thought. Elisha asked her one question that changed everything. "What do you have in your house?" She said, almost embarrassed, "Nothing, except a small jar of oil." That jar, that small, almost empty, easily overlooked jar. That was enough. God didn't ask her what she had lost. He asked what remained. And what remained surrendered fully became overflow that saved her family. Chosen one, God is asking you the same question right now. Not what did you lose, not what was taken, not what failed. What remains? Because what remains in you is not nothing. It never was. Underneath the grief, underneath the years of silence, underneath the prayers, you stopped praying out loud because they hurt too much. There is still a flicker. There is still a remnant. There is still oil in the jar. You may think a flicker is not enough, but a flicker is all God needs. He spoke entire worlds into existence from nothing. You are offering him something. You are offering him a remnant of faith that survived decades of fire. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand what heaven can do with a soul that has been through everything you have been through, and still came to this moment looking for more of God? That is not weakness. That is the most powerful thing in this room. Think about the dreams you stopped writing down. They are still true. Think about the prayers you whispered into your pillow at 3 a.m. that you assumed God never heard. He heard every single one. Think about the gifts you buried under practicality and pressure and other people's opinions. They did not expire. Gifts and callings from God are without repentance. Romans 11:29. That means he does not take them back. He has been waiting for you to return to the room. There is a journal somewhere in your house, dusty maybe, spine cracked, pages yellowed, where a younger version of you wrote down what you believed God said about your life. Pull it out, because what was written then was not fantasy. It was prophecy, waiting for the right season. And this is the season. April 13 is not just a Monday on a calendar. It is the morning God has been holding space for. The morning the widow finally poured. The morning the oil multiplied. The morning what remained became more than enough. You do not need to become somebody else. You do not need to be younger, stronger, louder, or further along. You need to return to what heaven planted in you before fear taught you to shut that door. The lamp is not out. It is almost out. And there is a difference, because almost out means still lit. And still lit means God can still work with you. Say this quietly to yourself right now. Don't rush it. Let it land. God, I'm ready to remember the room. Because once you recover what remains, once you feel that oil moving again in your hands, you will be forced to face the most uncomfortable, the most sacred, the most necessary question of all. What now? And that question, chosen one that is exactly where we are going next. Let me say something that nobody in your life has had the courage to tell you. You have been lied to. Not by a stranger, not by an enemy, by the culture you've lived inside your entire life. A culture that worships youth, discards experience, and has spent decades whispering into your ear that the older you get, the less you matter. And somewhere along the way you started believing it. You looked in the mirror and saw decline. You counted your years and called them losses. You watched the young move fast around you and told yourself your season was finished. But what if everything you interpreted as subtraction was actually accumulation? What if heaven has been reading your life completely differently than you have? Here is the revelation that will change how you see every single year you've lived. The young may have speed, you have weight, they may have energy, you have tested faith, they may have ambition, you have endurance. And endurance, dear one, is not a consolation prize. It is the rarest, most powerful currency in the kingdom of God. Look at Moses. At 40, he was impulsive. At 60, he was wandering. But at 80 years old, God handed him a rod and said, "Go split the sea." God didn't call Moses at his fastest, he called him at his deepest. Look at Caleb, 85 years old, standing at the edge of the hardest mountain in Canaan, and he didn't ask for a rocking chair. He said, "Give me this mountain, not give me rest, not give me comfort, give me the impossible assignment, because I have been walking with God long enough to know He doesn't bring you to a mountain just to watch you stand at the bottom." Look at Anna, 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage, and she never left the temple. She prayed and fasted decade after decade in a season when heaven seemed silent. And then one morning, one ordinary temple morning, she was the first woman on earth to publicly declare that the Messiah had arrived. 84 years of faithfulness, and God said, "You will be the voice that announces my son." Look at Sarah, 90 years old. Every doctor, every neighbor, every whisper of logic said it was over. And she laughed, not because she believed it, but because it seemed so completely impossible. But God's answer to her laughter was Isaac. The very name means laughter, because what God does in the impossible seasons doesn't just bless you, it makes the whole world stop and stare. Look at Abraham, 100 years old, and God wasn't wrapping things up with him. God was just getting started. Do you understand what this means for you? Those wrinkles on your hands are not signs of wear, they are records. Records of every time you kept going when quitting would have been easier. Records of every prayer you prayed through tears at 3 a.m. when nobody was watching. Records of every storm you walked through and came out the other side still standing, still breathing, still believing. That grief you've carried, the losses, the goodbyes, the heartbreaks that never fully healed, that is not damage. That is expanded compassion. That is the reason you can sit beside someone drowning in sorrow and they feel understood without you saying a single word. You earned that. Nobody gave it to you. Those decades of prayer, the years of interceding for children who strayed, for marriages that hung by a thread, for a nation that seemed to be losing its soul that is not wasted breath. That is spiritual authority being built brick by brick in the invisible realm. The world calls it aging. Heaven calls it seasoning. There is a difference between a cut flower and a seasoned oak. The cut flower is beautiful, it is fresh, it is young, but it has no roots. One storm, and it's gone. The seasoned oak has survived drought, lightning, frost, and 40 winters. It doesn't just survive the next storm, it becomes shelter for others during it. That is what you are, not a cut flower fading on a table. A seasoned oak, rooted deep, branches wide, still growing. You are not a retired spectator. You are a veteran general who has seen enough battlefields to know exactly how this war ends. And generals don't fade, they deploy. This is what Monday, April 13 is whispering over your life, not retirement, commissioning, not conclusion, activation. What the world calls your decline may actually be the evidence that you survived long enough to carry weight others were never built to hold. And heaven doesn't commission people it's finished with. It commissions people it's finally ready to release. If you are still available, if somewhere in your chest something just rose up and said, "Yes, Lord, I'm still here," type these words right now in the comments. Lord, use me still, because what comes next will show you exactly what heaven has been building toward all these years. And why Monday is not just another day on your calendar, it is your burning bush. You've felt it your whole life, haven't you? That pull, that quiet, persistent, knowing that you were built for something more than what you've been settling for, something deeper than routine, something greater than survival. And yet here you are, still waiting, still negotiating, still telling God almost. Soon, when things calm down, when the kids figure themselves out, when my health improves, when I feel more ready. Let me say something that may sting before it heals. You have been standing at the edge of that bridge for years. You can see the other side. You've described it to people. You've prayed about it. You've dreamed about it at 3 a.m. when the rest of the world was sleeping. But your feet have not moved. And Monday, April 13, is not arriving to give you another feeling. It is arriving to demand a response. Because here is the truth, that religion often softens, but Scripture never does. James 1:22 says it without apology. Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Deceiving yourselves, that's not gentle language. That's a divine warning. It means it is entirely possible to sit inside inspiration, feel everything, say amen to everything, and still walk away, unchanged, still postponing, still negotiating, still deceiving yourself into believing that feeling moved is the same as actually moving. It is not. So let me ask you the question heaven has been holding for you. What have you delayed that God already told you to begin? Not next month, not after the holidays, not when you feel stronger, younger, more certain. What has God been speaking to you about for months, maybe years, that you have dressed up in the language of waiting, when the honest word for it is fear? Name it right now. In the silence of wherever you're sitting, name it. Because a threshold means absolutely nothing if your feet never move. Before Monday ends, I am asking you to do something that sounds simple but will cost you everything comfortable. Get quiet. Not background noise quiet, genuinely quiet. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down what you have been postponing before God. Not a list of goals, not a vision board. One thing, the one thing you already know, the one thing that surfaces every time you get still enough to hear. Then name the place where fear has been the real landlord of your life. Not doubt dressed up as wisdom, not caution dressed up as patience. Fear, the kind that whispers, you're too old, too late, too broken, too far gone for God to use what's left of you. Proverbs 29:25 calls it exactly what it is. The fear of man brings a snare, a trap. And some of you have been living inside that trap so long you've started decorating it. Then pray. But not the theatrical kind, not the kind performed for an audience, the honest kind, the kind where you stop explaining yourself to God and start agreeing with what He already told you. The kind where you put your hand on that doorknob, the one you've been staring at, and you finally turn it. Release one excuse before Monday ends. Just one. The one you've carried the longest. The one that has the most comfortable feel to it because you've rehearsed it so many times, it sounds reasonable. Let it go. It is not protecting you. It is imprisoning you. And if there is a person you need to reach, someone where silence has grown into a wall, someone where pride outlasted love, Monday is the day you pick up the phone. Not when the moment feels perfect. It never will. You light the lamp before the dawn comes. You don't wait for daylight to light it, because here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. This is not just about your life getting better. There is someone on the other side of your obedience who is waiting. a grandchild watching to see if faith is real or just Sunday language, a neighbor who has never seen a life rebuilt by grace, a stranger God is about to place in your path who needs exactly the story you've been ashamed to tell. Your next season does not begin when circumstances align. It does not begin when fear finally disappears. It does not begin when you feel ready, because chosen one, that feeling is never coming first. Your next season begins the moment you stop negotiating with what God already told you. Deuteronomy 30:19. God set it before you, plainly. I have set before you life and death. Choose life. Not feel life, not admire life. Choose it. Actively, deliberately. On an ordinary Monday that heaven has been holding for this exact moment. So before Monday ends, write it down. One thing you will stop postponing before God. Sign your name at the bottom of that covenant. Because what comes next in this message is the part most people are not prepared to hear. It is not about what Monday gives you. It is about what you owe the generation that is watching you decide. Let me tell you something that is going to rearrange everything you thought your suffering was for. You have been treating your pain like a private wound, something to survive, something to hide, something to finally get past so you can move on and live whatever years you have left in peace. But what if that is the most dangerous misunderstanding of your entire life? What if your pain was never only about you? Hear me carefully. The olive does not understand why it is being crushed. It only knows the pressure. It only knows the darkness of the press. But out of that crushing comes oil that anoints kings, that fuels flames, that heals the sick. The olive did not choose the press. But the world cannot function without what the press produces. That is you, chosen one. Every loss that broke you open, every night that felt like it would never end, every prayer that seemed to dissolve before it reached the ceiling. God was not punishing you. He was pressing you. And what has been flowing out of you through all these years of pressure is not weakness. It is medicine. Somebody right now is standing on the edge of giving up. A young woman who has stopped believing God hears her. A broken son who has not spoken to his father in 11 years and does not know how to find his way back. A grieving widow sitting alone in a house that used to be full of laughter, wondering if joy will ever find her again. A teenager who has decided quietly, secretly, that his life does not matter. And you, with your weathered hands, your tested faith, your scars, your 60 or 70 or 80 years of surviving things that should have destroyed you, you are the answer they have been praying for. Not a pastor on a stage, not a book on a shelf. You, in your living room, in your neighborhood, at your kitchen table. The lighthouse does not move. It does not chase the ships. It simply stands, battered by every storm, worn by every winter, and it shines. And that light is enough to keep a vessel from shattering on the rocks. You have been that lighthouse. You just did not know anyone was watching. Somebody is waiting for the version of you that finally stops hiding. The version that stops apologizing for still being here. The version that stops whispering your testimony and starts speaking it with authority. Because 2 Corinthians 1:4 does not stutter. It declares that God comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Your comfort was never the destination. Your comfort was the fuel for someone else's rescue. Think about the bread. Jesus took 5 loaves, ordinary, not enough by any human calculation, and he broke it. Do not miss that. Before the multiplication, there was the breaking. The bread did not feed thousands until it was first broken in his hands. Your breaking was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of your multiplication. Your grandchild may one day stand at the exact crossroads where faith and doubt collide, and the only voice strong enough to reach them in that moment may be the memory of watching you refuse to quit. Your steadiness is a sermon they will carry long after you are gone. A younger believer somewhere is about to walk into a valley that feels impossible, and the only map that will make sense to them is the one drawn by someone who already walked through it and came out the other side, still believing. That map is your testimony. A broken son needs your prayers more than he needs your advice. A struggling church needs your quiet faithfulness more than it needs another program. A dying woman in a hospital bed may need to hear from someone who has looked fear in the face and whispered, "I still trust him." That someone is you. The very pain you begged God to remove may now be the language through which you save someone from despair. Do not take that to the grave. Do not let decades of refining, pressing, breaking, and rebuilding become a story that dies in silence because you decided you were too old, too tired, too ordinary to matter anymore. Scars are not shameful. Scars are doorways. And someone on the other side of your story is waiting for you to open that door. You did not survive all of this just to make it to old age. You survived to become a shelter. A torch passed in the dark changes everything for the person running behind you in the night. They do not need the torch to be perfect. They need it to be lit. You are still lit, chosen one. And if this exact moment truly found you on purpose, if everything in your spirit has been saying yes through every word of this message, then the last question is no longer why you found this message. The last question is what you will do now that you know. If you believe your pain will not die with you but will become someone else's healing, type in the comments right now, "My pain has purpose," because it does, and so do you. And this Monday, April 13, heaven is not asking you to have it all figured out. It is simply asking you to say yes. We have come a long way together. And before I release you, I need you to hear this one final truth, not as information, not as inspiration, but as a word spoken directly from heaven's heart into the deepest chamber of yours. Everything you have carried every year that felt wasted, every prayer that seemed to dissolve into silence, every morning you woke up wondering if God had simply moved on without you, none of it was random. None of it was punishment. None of it was proof that you were forgotten. It was preparation. The river doesn't apologize for the years it spent underground before it breaks over its banks. The dawn doesn't explain itself after a long winter. It simply arrives, and when it does, everything that survived the darkness finally gets to be seen. That is you, right now, on the edge of Monday, April 13. But I need to ask you something that may sting. How many Mondays have you already let pass? How many mornings has God placed a threshold in front of you, and you stepped around it because you told yourself you weren't ready, because you were too tired, because you had been disappointed too many times before? Hebrews 3:15 does not whisper, it thunders. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Not next week, not when things calm down, not when your body feels stronger, or your family comes around, or your circumstances finally cooperate. Today, do not miss Monday by treating it like any other day. Do not miss it by staying numb behind the routine that has kept you safely invisible for years. Do not miss it by telling yourself you will pray later, you will act later, you will finally step forward later. Do not miss it by shrinking one more time when heaven is standing at your door with its hand raised, ready to knock. Because here is what I know about you, not because I know your name, but because I know your journey. You are not someone who accidentally found this moment. You are someone who survived everything that tried to prevent you from reaching it. Every loss that should have buried you, every betrayal that should have hardened you, every silent season that should have convinced you that God had nothing left to say to you. And yet here you are, still breathing, still listening, still believing, even if that belief is only the size of a mustard seed right now. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20 that a mustard seed of faith can move a mountain. He did not say a perfect faith. He did not say a fearless faith. He said a seed, and you still have one. That is enough for Monday. So let us pray. Right now, wherever you are, place your hand over your heart, not as a gesture, as a declaration, as an act of surrender to the God who has been waiting with extraordinary patience for this exact moment. Lord, wake up what fear buried inside this soul. Heal what grief has hollowed out over these long years. Restore the voice that silence has slowly convinced no longer matters. Give courage, not tomorrow, not someday. Give courage for Monday. Take every year that remains and use it for something that echoes into eternity. Let this soul rise from this moment not the same as they sat down. In the name that is above every name, Jesus Christ, seal this prayer over their life. Amen. Now open your eyes, because I need you to hear this final word as clearly as you have ever heard anything in your life. You were not browsing when you found this. You were not bored, not restless, not passing time. You were being led, guided by something older and wiser and more purposeful than any algorithm, any suggestion, any coincidence this world could manufacture. You were supposed to find this exact moment. And now that you have found it, now that the key has turned in the old lock, now that the candle has finally been touched by fire and is becoming a torch, you have a decision to make. Will Monday pass over you like every other ordinary day you have survived, but not inhabited? Or will you rise and meet it? This was never just a video. This was a knock on the door of your life. And the door is still open, right now, this second. Go to the comments and type, "I will not miss my moment." Let heaven see it. Let the enemy see it. Let your own eyes read it back to you when doubt comes knocking Tuesday morning. Before Monday ends, pray. Write down what God has placed in your spirit. Take one step, however small, however shaking, however imperfect. Act. And if you know someone older, someone tired, someone grieving, someone standing on the edge of giving up, share this with them tonight. Be the voice that reminds them the door is still open. Tell me in the comments, what are you bringing before God on Monday? Because your greatest chapter is not behind you. It is standing right outside the door of April 13, waiting for you to finally say yes.